So heading to your mats or your space, whatever you're using. Actually, I'll reorganise my laptop so it's a bit lower, just in case you do need to see. Might be make a bit more sense. So you need, ideally, enough space to take your arms overhead. Forgot to say that, often I forget until we're doing it. So at least I just about remembered in the nick of time. So onto the floor with the feet on the floor and the knees heading towards the sky, and the feet are about hip distance apart. And you choose how close the heels come in towards your butt, what feels good. So you can always kind of take them away a little bit, and then bring them in a little bit, and then take them away a bit, and then just see what feels good. So you're broadly looking at kind of like your upper, your thigh bone and your shin bone kind of relaxing against each other. It's more like cards resting against each other. You might have heard that image. So that you're not creating too much of a harshness in the lower back, neither are you collapsing. So with all these, it's going to be, you know, with most of the positions where we have the feet on the floor, we're doing that to just bring a little bit of wakefulness to our legs so that we're not just collapsing in the whole of the body. So if you want to collapse, just try what collapsing means. So that, for me, that means flattening without letting my knees drift over to the side. There's a bit of an arch in my neck, but it might be very different for you. And my arms kind of roll out, but again, yours might roll in or whatever. And then start to really engage the feet. So you don't have to press down, but you might want to get that sense of the ground by pressing down for a moment, making sure you're lengthening through the toes rather than curling them up, and that you've got weight through the big toe, the little toe mound and the back of the heel, so that again, you're just alive to the contact points that are going to mean the inside of the leg and the outside of the leg are slightly active enough not to collapse, and that the belly there'll be a little bit of a sensation in the belly for most of us, so we're creating support here. Okay, so I mentioned to some of you that we're going to start with kind of a relaxing, theoretically relaxing, but very controlled way of breathing. It's called various things, but box breathing is one of them. And we're not breathing in a box. We're going to breathe, basically, we'll go through a process where we breathe in for the count of 4, we pause it for a count of 4, we breathe out for a count of 4, and we pause it. And we'll do a few rounds of that. But if it feels like it's creating tension anywhere in the body, or you know, making you panic or just feel really uncomfortable, you just go back to a normal breath and you really find a soft breath. With the out breath, we will blow out through the lips, so that usually helps a little bit to give that sense of relaxation. So the aim is support to relax and release rather than to create tension. But by keeping the body slightly alert, then we're also you know, making sure that we're not just going into sleep land as that consciousness. So we'll just do breath in and breath out with changing the position of the back for a moment. So take a breath in, but just create an arch, slight arch in the lower back, a little bit more than what you've got, but not to create any discomfort. Take a breath out and take the lower back down towards the floor. So sometimes we do this by bringing one knee in and out, or both knees in and out, but we're keeping the feet on the floor and we're kind of rolling on the pelvis. So just continue the movement for a moment. So breathing in, creating the arch, and breathing out as you roll on the pelvis to flatten the back or close to flat. We'll all be slightly different spines. So it feels like a roll more than anything else, like you roll, like a rolling pin on your hips that you're rolling forward and back. Okay. And what will happen with that is the whole spine will kind of play a part, so the upper back will change, the neck might change, the head position might change as you get into that rolling back and rolling forward. So you don't have to, after a while, you don't need to necessarily think about arching flattening, you're thinking about rolling on the pelvis to extend the lower and to kind of roll forward and get a little bit more of an extension through the arch of the back. Okay, so then just go back to neutral, which might be a different place by the way, than where you started. So we're going to take an in breath here for 4 and arch the back. We're going to pause the breath for 4 we're going to create an out breath through the soft lips and take the back down for 4. We're going to pause for 4. And then we're just going to take a break. So I didn't count for you, so you might be just guessing, or you may have started counting the seconds. So I'll count through the next go if that might help some people. So taking a breath in and arching the back, 2, 3, 4. Pause in the breath, 2, 3, 4. Out through the lips, 2, 3, 4. As you roll down, hopefully. Pausing, 2, 3, 4. Arching the back, breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Pausing the breath, 2, 3, 4. Out breath as the lower back comes down, 2, 3, 4. Pausing the breath, 2, 3, 4. If you can manage one more, breathing in, arching the back, 2, 3, 4. Pausing the breath, 2, 3, 4. Flattening the back, breathing out, 2, 3, 4. Pausing the breath, 2, 3, 4. And then you just allow the back to go back to neutral, or wherever it kind of lands, and just get the breath coming back to its natural state. And just take an in-breath to kind of feed you. You might deepen it if you wish to, and just let the out-breath just relax any tension in the head, jaw, that kind of area, shoulders, those areas where we hold tension. Hopefully you're still with me. Okay. So that box breathing, usually probably 5 kind of sequences of that, just to start to get everything a little bit more coming downwards, so de-stressing a little bit more, rest and digest a little bit, but it can also sort of support a little bit of an upward support for mood as well. So it's kind of a mental thing as well as a physical thing, as most of the breath work is. So now lengthening the legs away and lengthening the arms above your head and pointing the toes away if that's comfortable to lengthen through the body. And then taking the toes more towards the ceiling and taking the arms into more hands up position, the arms hovering above the floor. Yeah, so it's kind of cactus arms, if you know what cactus arms, or hands up position. Extend the arms above you and behind you, might be on the floor, might be hovering, toes away. And second part of that movement, toes towards the ceiling and more into robot arms. So breathe in to extend, but notice the sense of the front body. And breathing out, take the toes towards the ceiling and create that sort of support and stability in the shoulders. One more. Breathe in to lengthen. And breathe out to just get that stability more in the center, the legs and the shoulders. And then relax the arms down and just relax everything from there. You can switch everything off so that you just melt into the floor and just see how things are on the melted version, on the just completely relaxing the body. Okay, so at any point if the lower back's not happy, bringing the knees into the chest and just roll from side to side, or whatever method you know that'll support your lower back. But if you're okay, then let's bring the feet onto the floor again, knees pointing towards the ceiling, feet a distance apart. Okay, and then we want the arms by the side of the body, the palms facing down. So we're just going to extend the right arm overhead and extend the left leg along the floor. So it's kind of diagonal reach. Out breath, just bring ourselves back to base where we were in the start position. Breathe in, left arm, right leg extends. Get lengthen across the center of the body. So a couple more on each side. You find your breath, you find your timings. So it's gentle, it doesn't take too much energy. You decide how much length you want, you decide how much breath you want to work in with the cycle. going into it. Side body, diagonal between shoulder and hip being a real connection point. Opposites in this setup. So when you next get back to neutral, then lift the feet off the floor and have your legs at like a 90-degree angle here. So there's a little work going on in the belly. And float the arms overhead, leaving the legs where they are for now. And just feeling that length, feeling the belly, maybe give yourself some support as the legs kind of hover. Taking the arms now more into hands up or cactus arms. Let the knees slightly drift over to the right. So you go into your right foot, right side of the hip. And you control the center. So keeping the heels in line with the knees rather than letting them collapse down. And then in the opposite direction, going to your left, a bit of weight onto that side. Belly will be supporting you, belly coming in, back up to center. And just lengthen away with your right arm. And you can let your left arm just be by your side now. And then lengthen the left leg away to the floor. So that now becomes a diagonal lengthening. And then swap over. So swap the extended arm and the sort of 90-degree leg to extend. And then one more each side. So for me, my legs are way around. Okay, and that was right. And second side. And arms back, legs back to extension on the floor for a moment and relax the whole body. Just release and let go. Okay, so bring the knees into the chest. And let the bum come off the floor, so the lower back's really kind of off the floor, so you're lengthening through the lower back. And if you can safely bring the chin towards the chest and the head towards the knees, keeping the shoulders back and down. And then gently lower yourself back down, feet back to the floor. And relax again. Okay, so once again, bringing the knees in and the head in. Hands can come on the shins or on the back of the thighs. Just let one leg head towards the ceiling. So sole of the foot heading towards the ceiling while you're holding on to the other leg. And breathe in, making sure you're okay with the neck. So it's more sense of lengthening down the back of the neck. And then just swap over. So just take your hands to the opposite shin and extend through the opposite foot. Okay, well done. Okay, bring both knees in, let the head softly go back to the ground. So we're going to roll up. So we'll just see how this goes. I think we'll just roll up for now. So if you can rock back and forth a little bit on your back so that you roll, so you get your feet on the floor for a moment and sitting up effectively, yeah? Is that okay for people's backs? So gently rocking back. I've still got my hands on my shins, but if you need another way of rocking up, so then I bring my bum off the floor to get a bit of a rock. And then I get myself up to the bum and my feet on the floor. Yeah. So obviously it doesn't suit everybody's neck, so just take care with that, how far you go with that. Okay. So take the hands, the lower arms under the thighs, and then just kind of either find the hands gripping the shoulders or the forearm. Lengthen through the chest and feel like the sitting bones are going down to the floor. Okay. And then just pick the feet off the floor. You might wobble back and just pull in with the legs towards the chest and the chest towards the legs. So it feels like you're really lengthening through the back body, lengthening through the chest and the sternum. Let the shoulders come down. And breathe. Well done. And see if you can now release the hands and get the hands to the base of the heels. So the hands are going into the heels and my feet are hip distance apart. I'm pressing my heels into my fingers and pulling back with my fingers. So that feels stronger in the belly. Might be slightly different uplift, but see if you can get that uplift. You might be sitting on your sitting bones, it might be kind of wobbling a little bit. I am a little bit. Release there, and again, just wrap the arms around the thighs and lengthen. Lengthen through the back of the neck, at the shoulders, head down, away from the ears. So one more time, taking the hands to, if you can reach, I've got long arms, to the backs of the ankles, press the ankles away. Well done. Okay, so option is to release the hands and extend the arms away just by the size of the legs and extend the feet away. Again, keep the chest feeling like it's lengthening up through the sternum, and then roll back and release the legs completely out so that any sort of tension, any cramping can just calm down. So just relax and let go, let the breath come back and just feel how the body is lying on the floor. You might got a bit of an extension, so that's a little bit of a play for most of us, but some of it might feel uncomfortable, so obviously you just need to see where you're at with this. For me, keeping the knees bent, I'm fine with the hamstrings, so some of you would have been able to straighten the legs a little bit more in that kind of boat pose. See what's going on in the belly, how much freedom now you can have in the belly and the hips through the breath. So really giving the chance for the breath to extend and the sense of the belly to soften now. So we've just been doing quite firm work, strength work with the core, and trying to work out what on earth we were doing, because I probably wasn't. Maybe one of those things are new, so I know it takes a while to know what on earth I'm on about, and if I'm not as clear as I should be, then you might be kind of just trying to work everything out. Just see how it feels. So some of these can be really playful things, but obviously it has to suit your body. So that can be quite plain, rocking forward and back, going into boat, trying different ways of really getting the length through the spine and the sitting bones down to kind of create some changes and release for the spine if the spine's ready and you've not had a big D. Okay. Brilliant. So coming up to bringing the knees into the chest, either rocking up or rolling over, whatever feels the right thing to do with your energy and your back. And then you can just sit for a moment to face me. Take your hands behind you. And until you feel a bit wider, so more kind of as wide as the mat would be. You might be on the mat, you might be off the mat, I'm off the mat. And just let the knees go over to one side so that the one knee heads towards the opposite ankle or the heel, and then come back up and just take the knee over to the other heel. So my butt's coming off one side, so I'm taking my weight over and I'm allowing the butt to come up. And I'm then just turning it into wash rag. So I'm just taking my legs side to side, loosening around the hips. I might go and walk back, so my bum might start drifting a little bit more towards the front. Just keep bringing myself back every so often to just loosen. So the more you take the knee away towards the ground, the more you get the length down the side body. I'm feeling okay with that today, so that's a really good sign. So it's just a little bit of antidote for the lower back, hopefully, for what we've just been doing. So option, you can kind of carry on doing that, or if you like, as you take the knees to the left or the right, you just release your opposite arm, take one hand, so take the hands down towards the floor as if you're doing a push-up. So you can let the arms go out to the side, elbows go out to the side, more like a press-up than a chaturanga. As you go to the opposite side, you swing yourself round, you go down, finding the ground, pushing away from the ground, It's my elbow cracking as we go from side to side. You've got the space for that. It's kind of like you're lowering yourself down, almost like you're going to kiss the floor, kiss the earth. And you just find the easiest way to get from side to side, to just unwind yourself. To have a very cracky right elbow tonight. I've been doing a few chaturangas, must be there. Okay. And back to center. Just lengthen through the legs for a moment. If you've got space. And just take the toes away and bring the toes towards you. See how that feels around the back of the legs, on the back of the calves. As you take the toes away and bring your toes towards you. And then just do circles with your toes. Now you can't see my toes very easily, but just creating circles with your toes so you get into your ankles effectively. So you can take them and take your mind both out and then in, but you can choose to do it any way you like and see if you can get the ankles to do the opposite movement. So taking your toes in an opposite circuit. Wonderful. Okay, and we're going to be coming on to all fours now. So if you need a shake out en route or need to come back on your back for a moment to just shake out, then please do. So we're going through, to some extent, what we did last week with preparation for chaturanga and that sort of strengthening for arms and strengthening for the core and getting that kind of whole body experience. So we'll start with the more kind of relaxing part of the process, which is just to remind ourselves what we're doing with the arms. So we're on all fours and we've got our fingers slightly spread. We're pushing down with the palms of the hands, so we're extending through the inner and outer parts of the arm to create a dome in the shoulders and the upper back. We're lengthening through our neck, so we're looking down rather than forward or under. So we've got a back of our neck feeling long. We're bringing the belly into the spine so that we haven't dropped in the belly. And we have a sense of a long lower back, so it feels more like an extension through the tail rather than an arching in the back. And as we do this, we then push back through the hand. We can round the back further, taking the bum towards the heels. We bring the forearms down. This is kind of chaturanga positioning here. As we come forwards and we're pushing that imaginary ball, we'll come to a stage when the shoulders get further forward that we have to bring the elbows off the floor without them going out to the side if possible. So that's our kind of task. We're opening up and lengthening as we take the bum back. We're bringing the elbows down in line with the wrists. We're coming forward, keeping the body low until the stage where we have to pick the forearms up, and we just pick them up, heading forward, not to the side. So about 3 more times, just taking the bum back, bringing the forearms down, floating the body low, and then just prizing the lower arms by straightening through the elbows to then find a way back. Releasing the back, releasing the side body as we go back, forearms down, keeping the body low. So a couple more times, try and do your best to keep the elbows in and push through. You push through the hands to get yourself up again, you create some strength rather than just kind of working with areas that are not going to give you the most support. So if you press down with the hands, that'll help give that connection and get the muscles in the arms working well. So finishing on this second one. And that hopefully also gives better support to release around the wrists. That's what I'm hoping for you. That's my hope for you all. Okay, so from here, you'll know from last week, if you were here last week, whether you can hover with your knees off the floor and keep the tops of your feet down, or whether you need to tuck your toes under. Yes, some of you will need to tuck your toes under, but if you can manage without creating cramp, then you press down, you create that length of your neck, you create that dome through your upper back, you bring the belly in, slight sense of extending through the tail, and then you bring your knees off the floor. So you're on your backs of your feet. You're not looking under, you're not looking forward, you're looking down towards your thumbs. That will usually mean you're actually operating through that you're extending through your neck, and you're pushing down, so you're not collapsing into your wrists. If you collapse into your wrists, that's much harder than pushing away. It won't feel like that, maybe. And you're trying to breathe. So a couple more breaths if you can. Find to blow out through the lips. Come down as controlled as you can, rather than thinking, oh, it's all done, I can just collapse here. Okay, take your bum back, release, pressing back through the hands so you can extend through the arms to get your bum down. You can bring your forearms down if you want to. You can bring your head down if that works for you. Just let the belly be soft for a moment, if it can be soft in this position. Well done. Okay. So when you're ready, coming back up onto all fours. So how are you going to cope? How are you going to make the most of this? How are you going to find the support? How are you going to find the mental presence for this to be good enough, okay, survivable? So there's going to be a limit to everybody. So how are you going to get within your limit that feels like, okay, I'm creating strength, but I'm not creating positions of potential injury or niggles that I don't want. So from here, think about what you can do with the breath. So the breath can support you. So before we move into it, just breathe in and breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, take the knees into the hover. Breathe in slowly if you can. And breathe out really slowly if you can. Breathe in slowly if you can. Breathe out slowly if you can. Knees down, well done. Bottom back, release the hands this time. Just take the arms by the side of the body if it's comfortable. If not, come on your back if this is just kind of like another form of discomfort for you. Let the shoulders come forward, let the arms just rest, so the palms are heading towards the ceiling rather than the palms down. So I can really let the shoulders relax, let the spine kind of extend, breathe into my lower back belly. I know it's restricted, but you should hopefully be able to find some space to let that lower back get a little bit of support through the in-breath in the extension of the belly slightly. So notice, just kind of give a sense of to yourself what happened there, whether that was easier. It was the second one, so it's harder sometimes. Sometimes it's easy because you know you've done it and you know what your body's doing. Maybe you're really tired and it's just not the right thing right now. Maybe the energy you gave it made you less tired now through strength. So finding your way back up onto small fours. We're going to do it one more time. If you need to come onto your fingertips or come onto your knuckles, you can try that out. If you can manage to give a little bit more work for the wrists to some extent, but the more you push away, the more you push out, the more you don't collapse in your shoulders, the more this will work for you. Get the belly in towards the spine, get the neck long looking down. Take a breath in. Take a breath out, and again, hover. Breathing in when you need to breathe in. Breathing out. Keep the pushing going if you can. Breathing in. Breathing out. And knees down. So for me that was easier than the other two. So just being interested in your own experience. Let's come onto our back just to give ourselves different sort of support here. Yeah, so floating onto your back, bring your knees into your chest, and then just doing little circles on your lower back. So you just get a little bit, for some people that's much easier and more friendly for the belly, for the back, than trying to keep your bum close to your heels. It's too strong for some people's knees. And let the breath come back to a more regulated, a slower gentler pace. If you're doing circles on your lower back, just go in the opposite direction. So I'm doing really little movements. I'm not doing kind of anything big. I'm really just kind of rocking and rolling like I'm going around a clock face one way, and then I've gone the other way now. So it's really gentle rather than forcing or pushing or striding here. I'm just kind of rocking, rolling, almost the momentum that my body would do it on its own accord once it's got going, rather than me doing anything with my hands or my knees to make it happen. It's just kind of a roll around, a roll around, a roll around. Okay, and then just let the legs extend and just pause for a moment. So even that movement, or not even that movement can be strong. We're choosing how we support ourselves on a Monday evening after whatever we've had for a weekend, whatever we've had for a day. And for some people, the strength stuff will kind of wake everything up, body, mind, focus. For other people, it will feel like I'm just torturing you. So notice what the experience is, and could you do anything different with your mind, with your body? Do you need to take slower breaths? Do you need to just not do it as often? Do you need to just do it once? Do you need to just change the whole view of of the move? So if you come into it and think, oh God, it's that one again, you know what's going to happen. You're not going to breathe very well. You're going to be desperate to come out of it. So taking your mind into, well, let's just see how it goes, is usually a good starting point. So just let the body kind of relax on the support of the mat before we go and develop this a little bit further. Okay. So 3 more breaths. Your breath, so it can be just natural, it can be deeper, it can be out breath through the mouth. And if you need to stay longer and join us later, then you do that. After your 3rd breath, bring your knees into your chest, and again, you either float over to the side or you float forward to come to the next stage. So, for those of you joining me, we're going to take the knees together for the first part of this. We're going to lift the lift the feet off the floor so that a bit more weight comes through the knees. If you need to take the knees a little bit further back or the hands a little bit further forward so that we can do this half chaturanga position. So we still keep the length through the spine, we still push through the hands, we still dome through the back, we still bring the belly in and extend through the tail. And then from that position, we slightly bend the elbows, going back, not out to the side like a press up, and we come down up to halfway. Shoulders go back away from the ears, and we push ourselves back up. Let the legs come down for a moment to relax. So again, what happened there? Did you breathe at all? Did you choose to not breathe? Did you find a way of breathing differently? So come onto the knees. I take the lower legs up so the heels are more towards the butt. Get yourself all those sort of things turned on in terms of pushing away, shoulders, back, neck, belly, spine extended. Really feel that and feel strong in the body there. Take a breath in without moving. Take a breath out and just gently bring the chest heading towards the ground as you bend the elbows slightly. Take a breath in, take a breath out and push away to get back to where you were. And let the legs just relax. Okay, so one more like this. So taking the lower legs off the floor, engaging all those areas, extending through the neck, shoulders, etc. Belly, lower back. Feel strong. Take an in breath. And lower down to whatever level you want to lower down to. So we're not tucking all the way, we're tucking half at the most. We take a breath in when we kind of pause. We take a breath out to push yourselves back. The arms might be struggling, but don't worry about that. And release the lower legs down. Bring the knees back into just below the hips. Bring the wrists just below the shoulders. Give the wrists a little bit of a shake out. Just give them a little bit of, get the fingers loose, get the wrists loose. Get the fingers loose, get the wrists loose. Well done. So we'll just do, you can even go to your knuckles here if you've just had enough, you want a break for the wrists. We're just going to do about 3 or 4 cat-cow here. So just bringing the belly in to get that sense of the whole spine, having more space, let the head come down. And let the belly head down a little bit, but keep support through the belly as the chest comes forward and you look forward, shoulders go back. So it's also a little bit like the first movement we did when we were lying on the back and rolling. We just roll through the pelvis. The more you bring the belly in on the cat, the more you'll get into the support through the lower back and the release of the spine. So you choose how much sense of that you like, you enjoy, you need, how much power comes from that, how much support comes from that, and then see how it feels to open across the front of the chest and front of the collarbones as you go into cow position. So one more of each, just feeling that space, feeling that length. Great. And back into neutral. Making sure you're not collapsing. By now everything should feel nice and toned and strong. Okay, so wrists, shake out, shake out, shake out. Take the hands then further forward. Have the knees hip distance, have the toes tucked under. We're going up into downward facing dog first. So pushing back, take the knees off the floor, take the bum towards the ceiling, come onto the tips of your toes. Feel like your belly's coming in to really support that upward lift through the front of the thighs, and then let the heels go down a little way. See where they go. And really push away through the hands, really lengthen through the side body. One more coming onto the toes. Pushing back with the hands. And this time coming down onto your knees, coming down onto your knees, coming down onto your knees. I assume you've come down to your knees. Okay, so with this bit where we keep the bum broadly up in the air, but we head down with our chin. So this time we do have an arch in the back of the neck. So the chin goes down and the chest goes down, and we bend the elbows at chaturanga, so the elbows just go back as we land what might feel awkwardly with the chest and the chin. This time, push back through the knees so you get your belly down. Yeah, so you're flat on the floor, relax your shoulders back, push down with your hands and come up into cobra. So that's kind of like bent elbows, looking forward, bring the belly in. Alternative option is to push down, to straighten through the arms to go into upward facing dog, but you need your belly in to protect your lower back. You're pushing away to give space for the ears away from the shoulders. Well done. Okay, push back, take care of the lower back. Toes tucked under again, back up into downward facing dog, butt towards the ceiling, onto your toes, really push back, really push up. Come forward, bringing the belly in. As you come down onto your knees, that hover will get everything back into support mode. So your knees are down, you can untuck your toes. Start to push away from the floor, down the back, lengthen through the neck for a moment. And then we're heading chest and chin towards the floor as we bend the elbows, chin goes down, chest goes down, bum stays up, belly stays in. We land. It's really weird. Okay, and then we push back with the knees to get the belly down. We let the shoulders relax. We push down with the hands either into cobra or into upward facing dog. The arms to either arms extended or elbows bent. Belly in to really support the spine. Push back, bum back onto knees. One more go. Toes under, push back, bum towards the ceiling. Well done. Come forward on your toes, coming down onto your knees, keep your belly really supported. You feel that support. Untuck the toes, push away for a second with the arms. Extend through the neck for a moment, belly in, tail back and down. Okay, and then bend the elbows, chest heads down, chin heads down, chest head down, chin, elbows just back out to the side. Land, take the shoulders into relaxed position. Let the knees and the legs go away so you're lying on your belly. And breathing in, pushing down with the hands either into cobra shoulders away from the floor, belly in, chest away, looking forward. Brilliant. Extend back, pushing back this time so that you're into child's pose, and release the arms by the side of your body or go onto your back to bring your knees into your chest. Well done. That's hard, but hopefully kind of enjoyable in that strange sort of way. So I know there was a lot going on there. I chose to just take us through it because we've done most of that last week. So hopefully I've not lost you too much. And if you chose to bail out because that was the right thing to do, well done. So breathing here. Breathing well here. What are we doing? Okay. Okay, so we're going to do something theoretically a little bit more restful. So hands underneath your shoulders just to get yourself up. And we'll go into some side lifts. So some of you know, some of you probably don't know at all, and some of you won't remember. So I will show you. I am going to use, I'll show you both versions, but I am going to use, it's equivalent to a rolled up blanket, but I've got a carpet because it's just sweet and it's here and it's available and it seems to be the right height most of the time for me. So these best to watch. I know one of you knows it really well. So I'm coming on to my side body. It's easier if you watch because it's really complicated to keep picking your head up really. So I'm trying to get my hips and my shoulders in line. So I'll try and get it reasonably close to a wall, but you mean it like a wall. If you've got a mat, just have a sense of where your shoulders are landing and where your hips are landing, and they're broadly in line. Hips and knees are in line, and then knees and ankles are in line here. So if you're using some sort of support, then that goes under your head. And if you're not using support or you haven't got it available, then you use your arm. Yeah, but for some people that will just be lovely, and for some people that will be kind of like, no, I must not, it's just not right. Yeah, so those are your options. And what you're trying to do is stack your shoulder on top of your shoulder and your hip on top of your hip. And we'll do a little bit rolling forward, rolling back. So we try and find the midpoint. Then the basis of the movement is hip and kind of armpit, or hip and shoulder coming closer together and then going further apart like an accordion. Yeah, so that's the basis of the movement. But the way we're going to do it is we're going to have a hand under the head, kind of wrapped around the ear, and we're going to pick up our heel but keep the knees together. So the heel comes up, the head comes up, so that means we're closing inward, we're sort of taking more of a smile in the accordion here, and then we bring the head down, we can breathe in and expand a little bit more through this side body. So it's one of those things that it's a bit strange and looks a bit awkward, but it's really yummy once you get into it. So if you come down now, and we'll have a play if you're not already down. So choose, so you're lying on your back, you're getting your shoulders and your hips in line, so that you're not coming forward with your hips or back with your shoulders or whatever. And you want your, it's this, you're sitting on a chair, that 90-degree angle, ankles, knees, knees, hips. Knees together, ankles together. And support under your head, or if you haven't got it or you want to try the arm, resting on your arm, then do so. Okay, I can see some of you, which is really helpful. So just notice if you think you've got your shoulders in line. So I know sometimes you feel like you're tucking under a lot, but just see if you can do your best to get shoulder on top of shoulder, hip on top of hip, knee on top of knee, ankle on top of ankle. Most of us will fall forward or back. So let's just play with falling forward and back. So let your shoulder come forward, let your knee come forward like you're rolling onto your belly, but you don't. And then roll back. So your knee comes back over the center and beyond. And you kind of roll back with your hips and your shoulders. Roll forward again. This in itself is quite a nice movement to actually do, this roll forward and back anyway. So once you then come forward again, just see if you can find that place where ankle over ankle, knee over knee, hip over hip, shoulder over shoulder. It's much easier to let the shoulder collapse. So whichever arm is on top, sweep that arm overhead and tuck the hand underneath your head, kind of by your ear, so your fingers are touching your ear. It's a really weird position to be in. You might do that sometimes, maybe at night, just for a second, but you don't normally stay here. That will give you a bit of length down the top side of your body. That might give you a little bit of length. Just for a moment, breathe in and expand down that top side of the body. And then breathe out and find that release in the side body, concertina. Breathe in and expand through that side body, lengthening, lengthening, lengthening. But you keep your belly in, your belly doesn't go kind of like all blown up. And then out breath and just rest that side body down. Okay, so from here we're going to go to the second stage, which is taking breath in, expanding on that top body, breath out, lift the heel away from the heel, keep the knees together and lift the head off the floor. Literally you're picking the head up so the weight goes through the hand and you concertina in between your hip and your shoulder. And then lengthen back down. Really, really slowly. Imagine you're lengthening, imagine you're lengthening, imagine you're lengthening, imagine you're lengthening until you land. Take a breath in and lengthen even further. Take an out breath, and as the side body goes in, you accentuate that by bringing up the ankle, bringing up the head, and then gently rolling back down. So see if you can manage 3. So when you get down, you take an in breath and just get a little bit more length through that upper body. And as you breathe out, the inner body goes in, and what helps that is the ankle coming up and the head. Care with the head. Yeah, so don't over pull, don't drag, just lengthen and allow that head to release. So one more, extending, and then ankle and head. So these are more somatic movements rather than yoga movements. And they're there to release, lengthen, find our slide and glide in our body, release areas that often we don't have consciousness around, we're often a little bit numb on our side body. And we really try to do this sufficient mindfulness to get a little bit of change going on over time. Okay, so once you're back down, then just come onto your back just for a second. So release the early support, making sure your shoulder's okay, your back's okay, just lengthening. And see how you land on the floor. So you might feel different on the side body, you might feel different on the right side compared to the left side. You might feel like you're lying on a slant. Sometimes if kind of one part of the body is bigger, the right side is different to the left side of the body. Let the belly be free now, so allow the belly to expand on the in-breath and less on the out-breath. So 3 more breaths here. Much change with the arch in the lower back and the flat in the lower back as you want to through this. If that kind of happens naturally and it's pleasant, then do that. Okay, excellent. So bring your knees into your chest after the next breath and rolling over or rolling up. And just set yourself up for the second side. I have to take a bit more care with the second side at the moment. So either use the arm or use the support, or don't do it if it really feels uncomfortable for you. Yeah, so I've just got it under my head, and I've got my arm, my shoulder on top of my shoulder in line with my hip, so I can use the back of my mat to judge that, and then 90-degree angle. I want my knees definitely on top of each other, ankles definitely on top of each other, hips on top, and then you can just have a little bit of this sense of rolling forward and back a few times. So I'm actually even rolling on my forehead here. That might not suit so well if you're extending through the arm, I'm not sure. For me, try that out. So you roll it back and your knee goes forward over your other knee, so also there's a little bit of opening there, and this is a kind of good movement in itself. To slide and glide the whole body forward, to slide and glide it back a little bit, and then find your equal level, stacked, if you like. It's not a good word, stacked, but you know, aligned position for the shoulder, hip over hip. And then we do the second part of the movement. So take the arm, extend it, lengthen it, and then tuck it underneath the head. Fingers are by the ears, if that's okay for the shoulder. Okay, and then breathe in, lengthen the hip away, shoulder away, so you get that lengthening, keep the belly in, though supported. And then out breath, let the lower side of the torso go in, and you get that sense of lengthening through the lower part and shortening through the top. Lengthen again, just in the same position. And the next time as you breathe out, you can lift the head and lift the top leg, i.e. just the ankle away, so the knees are stayed together. And you feel like that shortening of the top waist, and you extend back down and breathe in and extend the hip further away from the shoulder to lengthen. And then out breath, head comes up, heel comes up, shortening in the top body, top side body, and then slowly lengthen, 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 lengthen. This is really helpful for me at the moment, but I still have to just be a little bit careful. Breathing in to lengthen. Breathing out one more time. Head towards the hip to really kind of take that side lift. The heel comes up. Gently, gently extend. So you extend as you go down, the lengthening into position. And land, and then come onto your back again. And just see how things align. Just untangling yourself. That's a position that took me ages to feel really comfortable with. So I appreciate if kind of you feel like, oh, now my shoulders are all tucked funny and like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And some of these movements are kind of like really tricky for the brain to just make sense of. So areas of the body that we're a bit numb to, or areas of the body we don't move very much, or areas of the body that get kind of stagnant, or we hold, or we create tension, will not be quite clear what they're doing. So that's what we do, and we do a little bit of repatterning, a little bit of changing. And for me, that movement is one of the best for me now, particularly as I've got a little bit of issues still with my intercostal muscles on the right side. Okay. So just softening now, softening the belly, letting the whole body feel lengthened, the hips feel lengthened, shoulders feel relaxed down into the floor. What parts of the back are touching the floor? What parts of the neck touching the floor? Part of the legs are touching the floor, the legs going out to the side externally, rotating, or the thighs heading towards the ceiling or inwardly rotating. The palms facing towards the ceiling, facing into the body, or palms on the floor. So we'll all have a different arrangement for our shoulders, but they might change through these exercises or these movements or these explorations. As we both endure and we recover and we repattern and we reconsider what our options are with our body. We unravel where we can unravel, we strengthen where we need to strengthen, we stabilize, watch where we need a little bit more power and support. Okay, knees up and maybe have a shake out. So maybe we'll take the arms up to the sky. Just shake everything out. Shake, 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 shake. So making any noises you want to, obviously in silly mode. Okay, and we're going to be coming into our squatting next. So rolling up or rolling over in the best way for your body. At the best pace for your body. And I think I'm going to move my setup so that we come into standing. So find your way up. I think it might be nice to stand for a moment anyway, rather than just squatting, which might be a bit strange for the body anyway. Nice to see you all. Okay. So just see how you are in standing with the feet hip distance apart. See how you are on your shoulders, see how conscious you are of your side body. Does it feel more, you've got more awareness of it? How's the front body doing? So we've been doing quite a lot of lengthening through the front body as well through, we did a little bit of lengthening in terms of the cobra and the cat-cow to some extent, the cow part, the cat-cow. So do you feel really tall? Do you feel a sense of length through the spine? Do you not know? How's the neck going? How's the jaw going? Is it both lengthened but also able to kind of relax and release? How are the legs feeling? So we've done a lot of work in the arms and the whole body to some extent. We've worked the side body, we've released the side body. So seeing how stable, seeing how strong, seeing where you need to be strong, seeing where you can relax as well, without collapse. So this idea of relaxation without collapse, we just completely give up. Where we relax, we still have a sense of aliveness in the body. Okay, let's get into this squatty business. So I did say for some of you that if you choose to do so, to stay in a squat where we're kind of quite deep, potentially quite deep, that you might want something under your heels. So it could be the same thing you had under your head. It could be a couple of blocks. It could be a towel. It could be anything, just a book, even to just under each heel to raise you up a little bit. But initially, we're not going to be going to stay down. We're just going to be just bobbing up and down, really, fairly slowly. So finding your position with your feet wide and your toes heading out so that your knees will be drifting over your toes when we go a little bit lower. So I'm already in a semi-squat here. And we'll play around with kind of preparation anyway. So the idea here is the legs are strong and the support comes from the legs and the feet to get yourself up from a squat. That's the kind of plan. What can go wrong is that we can arch our lower back, particularly those that if you've got a natural arch there or a vulnerability in the lower back. So just take one hand to the belly for a moment, one hand to the lower back, and just see what the position is for the back. And if you just press the belly in a little bit and take the tail down, just notice what that does for the back. That should be lengthening the back as you bring the belly in a little bit. And then just go back slightly into where you were before if you can, and see how that feels. Does it feel fine or does it feel a little bit kind of tricky? Okay, and then again, just bring the belly in and just take the tail of the spine down to lengthen. Okay. Come back to broadly neutral. Extend the arms out. So we're doing things that we're a bit more familiar with to start with, and we'll get the spine working and operating, hopefully. So I've got my palms facing towards you, but I'm almost like already starting a hug. Okay, so from here, I'm lengthening through the sternum, I'm looking up. I'm opening through the chest and through the collarbones. And then I'm dipping, I'm sort of doing the cat sort of position, so my bum goes under, around my back, bring my chin towards my chest, so bring my fingertips towards each other, and I'll look down towards my chest or towards the floor. And then I open up on the in-breath. So don't over-arch in your lower back. Think much more about the release of the front of the chest. And if anything goes wrong with the back, then just keep that slight support in the belly will help. So don't collapse the belly. So moving betwixt and between. So I've got a slight bend in my knees. And so I'm kind of like a quarter of a squat here, and I'm opening up. The breath helps, use the breath. So out to create that kind of more cat pose as you round the back and look down and under. Creating the in-breath as you open out, gathering more space. And out breath as you come. So like I say, it's almost like starting a hug, a very big hug. And in breath, opening out. And the legs don't really do anything different when you do this position. They stay in the same position. It's the back that's doing the change in work, the side body to some extent. So one more to open. And just take your hands down for a moment, rest your hands. So throughout the squats, the best thing to do for all of us is to create the belly support and let the lower back extend. So not to be in neutral, to actually let that back extend. For most of us, that will be more helpful, and that's generally how I experience it's taught. It might be taught differently in different classes, but that's how I tend to learn that support there. Okay, bring the hands, the palms together, and then we can press the hands slightly together, and we get support in the upper body now. So we get support through the shoulders, lengthening still through the back of the neck. So whether the fingers are touching the chest or the fingers are not touching this slightly away from the chest, you choose. Okay, so press in again, and then open out and push away with the palms of the hands. You might open the chest again slightly and look up. So there will again be a slight change in the back there. And then bring the hands together. You can look down at the fingers. So there is a little bit again of a rounding of the upper back. Press the hands together. Open out. So we'll just do a couple more times. Opening out, pushing away. So it's energizing as you push away. And then it's kind of return to center, but we're staying stable in the shoulders as we press the hands together, creating a little bit of resistance. One more opening up, and then you're going to stay with your hands together after that. So, out breath as you bring the hands, palms together. Okay, so we're going to go down a little bit into a squat. So keeping the hands together here. So you've got the shoulders really supportive. And just decide, so sometimes I have to play around, maybe I need to take the legs wider, maybe I need to bring them in a little bit. So just see if you need to play, get the belly in and the lower back down. And then just take a little bit of a journey, you know, so, okay, I'm just sitting down. Definitely think I'm sitting down, yeah. That's really helpful to do. And you get to where you get to and it feels like, oh, there's interesting things going on. Press through your feet rather than pulling yourself up through your back or your shoulders. Press through your feet, press through your feet, press through your feet. Okay, so breathing out, we go down. And pause. Press through the feet and come up to where you were. Okay, so this time, breathe in, extend through the front of the sternum, take the belly in. On the out breath, just rotate towards one leg slightly, bringing the belly in so you've got the space, and then going down to slight angle as long as it's okay for the hips. And press through the feet, press through the feet. So the knees will move slightly, but broadly speaking, there's not a big movement. Back into center, steady yourself, breathe in, staying here, but extending through the chest. And breathe out. Slightly rotating the belly and rotating broad, a little bit broadly towards the opposite knee. So it's not quite that far. Sitting down slightly, bringing the belly in, pushing yourself back up and back to center. Okay, just relax the arms and let's just come back into center for a moment. Just see how the back is. Yeah, so if it's worked, you feel longer. If your back's not so good, you'll feel weaker. Yeah, it might be just where you're up to, it might be too much. It might be that every so often, because your back is used to being in an arch position, you just take your attention away and it goes back into that automatic position and you start feeling tension, or it might just go too long for you. So this is where we'll hold just for a moment with the squat. So it's more like thinking going down deeply, and I'll just show you, we're going to sit down and we're going to take our upper arms or elbows out to the side and just sit down. Yeah, he says. Okay, so that's where we're going, and we're going to stay there a smidge time. If you don't like it, or you don't think it's safe for you, even with the support under your heels, then you just go and carry on doing the moving version. So if that feels like, yeah, that's where I'm up to, and that's going to be helpful. If you don't know, you can try it. We'll come out of it by actually taking the hands to the floor, so you don't have to push yourself back up after all that work. So if you want your blanket, your mat or whatever under your heels, I can do it without, but actually it's still nice to have it sometimes. So even if you think, oh, I don't need it, you could try it out and see what support it gives you. It will also decide how far you're going to take your feet apart, won't it? Okay, well with me. Okay. So just being really steady. And this time we're going to take the arms out as if we're reaching for something. So it's just in front of the shoulders. Again, it could be like we've got a very giant sized beach ball, which is one of my themes at the moment. Okay, and relax the shoulders down, start to bend the knees a little bit. So we're just sitting back, that's all we're going to be doing. So sitting back, sitting back, sitting back, and just seeing if you can get down so that your weight goes through your hips. And it may be you can't, yeah? And if you can, you bring your hands together and you take your upper arms just to the inside of your knees. Now, if that's really just horrid, because basically we're pressing our knees into our arms into our knees, we're letting the belly come in, and it's kind of the lower back feels like the bum's going under here. We're taking 3 breaths and we're relaxing into it. Which might mean you go down lower, might mean you don't. So taking an in breath, come out of it whenever you need to, and an out breath. An in breath, out breath. One more, breathing in, breathing out. Turn into a monster here. Okay, and then just tip yourself slightly forward, take your hands to the floor so that you can get onto your hands and knees. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then back onto your mat. And we'll come down. Either you can do cat-cow if you want to do cat-cow for 2 or 3 goes, or you come straight down onto your back. You choose. Okay, you might not see me very well, but I don't think, I'll quickly adjust because we've only got 5 minutes to go anyway. So hopefully that works for you. Yeah, so squats aren't everybody's thing, like penguins aren't everybody's thing. So if they're not your thing, then just really understand why they're not your thing, and it might be for a good reason because the body's just not kind of really ready for that, or it might be just kind of have a thing about it, and really if you've explored it, played with it, actually it might be fine. So if you've done cat-cow and you want to come onto your back, fine. If you're already there, great. So just get a sense of the body on the floor for a moment, and then we'll just do a little bit of soft twist, but I'll give you an option of soft twist or stronger twist in a moment. So seeing how the body's landing, seeing how the breath is, seeing how the movement is in the hips, and how the back and the spine is, and how calm or tired, how engaged, how disengaged, how powerful, how lack of power you feel right now. So like I say, some of these exercises take things away. Sometimes they give us stuff. Sometimes we have to just find different ways of getting through, getting round, finding support. Some of that will be mental, some of that will be physical, some of that will be through the breath. And choose it. If you get all 3 going in combo, then you've got more support to endure or carry you through or whatever it needs through that process. So we've done strengthening the legs through squats, we've done strengthening the arms and the whole body through the chaturanga kind of preparation type work. So a lot of strength work here. And a little bit of release work too. So we'll do either a soft twist, wash rag twist, or whether you want to do something stronger. So if you remember, the wash rag one is like what we did when we were sitting down earlier. You take your feet as wide as the mat and you let them drift from side to side. You could have your arms out at shoulder level for that. And you just let them drift, or you press through I'm going to my right, so I'm pressing through my left knee to extend through my left side of the body if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, if you remember, you could take your right thigh, your left thigh, and then if you take your right thigh, your left thigh, you take them over to the right. And you get more stronger lift. a stronger lengthening. I think I'm going to leave that out. I'm probably pushing myself a bit too much on that one. And then you hold it for a few breaths and then you come over. So see what you feel like you need, whether it's just a soft movement from side to side, to just unravel the body gently and lengthen the body and find a kind of softness, or whether you feel like, no, I want to use gravity to really lengthen the body, to make the most of whatever you're making the most of during this hour and a quarter. So make sure you've done, if you're doing the stronger version, make sure you're moving on to the second side if you haven't done already. If you're doing the soft, you could always do, again, a couple of breaths holding on one side, or you can still obviously carry on just doing the movements from side to side, but that's more kind of loosening for your own body, and that's what your body needs right now. You're choosing what makes sense. And when you've finished and equalised on both sides, then just bring yourself back into lying with the legs extended, so that's okay for the back. The arms are away from the body, but not right out at shoulder level. It's you want the shoulders to be able to relax for the last few moments. And if you want to take your hands on your belly, that's another option. It's only an option. And just let the breath be soft now. Don't let it work, don't need to change it, don't need to do anything with it. You just want it to be soft. You want to see if you can get both the sense of weightedness down through the back of the body, the heavier parts of the structure, and a more of a soft weightlessness through the front of the body if possible. You need to sigh to just release and let go of the breath and do, but otherwise let it be soft. There's no work to do, no place to go for the next few moments. We're trying to keep the mind on a body focus, so whether that's the breath or whether that's the body resting on the floor or the breathing whole body. Just doing your best to keep a little bit of focus here. And recognise that you're giving yourself time to rest and heal and restore, even if it's short. And that's important. And that you can find time for that, as well as the striving and the reaching and the goal setting and the helping everyone else out and all that stuff we kind of do sometimes first. So to endure, we need to have a respite, we need to recover, we need to rest, we need to renew and restore. Okay, so a deeper breath maybe now, maybe a sigh, maybe an ah. And choose whether you want to lengthen through the body like we did fairly near the beginning, or whether you just want to shake out, or whether you want to do a little bit of both, whatever makes sense to this time of night on a Monday. And we're going to leave it there, so shaking out or stretching out and finding your way to wherever you need to be to finish, whether it might be just staying there or whether it's rolling over and finishing. So a couple of minutes over maybe. It's not too bad for me. So I had a plan, but I kind of improvised a little bit. So hopefully it didn't feel too disjointed. And I will respond to questions, comments, etc. as usual. So thank you for throwing those at me.